Councillor Sambrogno.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Fun fact for Councillor Weigel, I stood at that podium easily a decade, maybe even 15 years before I was elected for the first time, and told this chamber that there was this new technology called webcasting, and it would be an innovation for democracy if we did precisely that. There was no obligation on the part of the state government to force councils to do that. Everybody around this table at that time voted no, because they didn't see that that was the kind of accountability that they wanted. I'm glad that times have changed. Council's media policy was updated in December 2023, barely 2.5 years ago, and after a robust debate on precisely the issues before us now. Our media policy undoubtedly follows a template given to us by the Office of Local Government. I invite you to read it. Do you know what its purpose is? Its purpose is to define the appropriate conduct of council as it relates to what council and its staff and representatives say. It only concerns itself with whether council's commentary to media organisations is accurate and clear, fair and balanced, respects privacy and avoidance of harm, and represents integrity and transparency. It does not appear to be the function of a media policy. The OLG did not intend media policies to be a way to provide new or punitive mechanisms for punishing media organisation when a council simply doesn't like the tone of the reportage that other organisations make. I am glad that Councillor Lyons Bucket has chosen to amend the form of the motion that she was intending to bring tonight. I assume that her desire is still to bring something by way of a change that conforms to the form of words that was published in the business paper. In its earlier guise, it appeared to me that there was a suggestion that we should alter our media policy in such a way that certain media organisations would no longer qualify, meaning, I presume, that they could be regarded as persona non grata by council, and that council would then be obviated from the need to answer any questions posed by those media organisations. In fact, in the original form of words, and I acknowledge that we've moved on from this, but it said that in the opinion of council, that if they don't demonstrate adherence to these standards, an arbitrary standard, then they will not be recognised as media organisations for the purposes of this policy. So for those people who have been going on tonight saying, of course these media organisations can still report, they don't have to be in the chamber, there has been a stated desire published in our business paper to hobble media organisations in precisely that way, so that if they send in a media request, it doesn't need to be answered. I will pass over the fact that the person who was most likely to be affected by this change in the definition of a media organisation is a family member of the councillor that moved it, and I'm grateful that
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Conflicts, are we? We can't go down that far.
Councillor,
I'm walking it back immediately.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, my point of order is I have made a declaration of interest, unlike some people, and the thing is that I put this forward. This is relevance. It's about relevance to what is being said. In addition, there is no public-facing information of who owns the Hawkesbury Gazette, I might add.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, there's 3 or 4 of us that have got to leave the room if you remain on that line.
I appreciate that, Mr Mayor. I'll reclaim my time.
Thank you.
And I am grateful for Councillor Lyons Bucket's acknowledgement. Our current media policy says in its preamble that the media landscape is rapidly evolving and fragmenting. I certainly wish that we still lived in a world where regional newspapers were a going concern. In 2017, the Hawkesbury Gazette posted a photo of its staff Christmas party, and there were 15 people named in the caption of that photo. Clearly, we no longer live in that world.
Councillor, I need to leave the chamber.
If I can resume my remarks after you've... If you're making that decision, I'll respect it, Mr Mayor, but my time has not expired.
Well, if you're going to persist with anything in relation to a particular organisation that you have, I've got to leave the chamber.
So should he.
I believe that...
Is that yes or no?
I believe you're in no further danger if I can conclude my remarks, Mr Mayor.
Boom.
Today, we see the rise of citizen journalism, the blogger, the volunteer with a social media platform or an email newsletter. That's how Hawkesbury Matters evolved into that bastion of investigative journalism, the Hawkesbury Post, which some of us miss very much, others somewhat less so. But globally, citizen journalism broke reportage about the Arab Spring, the poisoning of Alexei Navalny, the downing of MH17 by Russia. I believe this motion, in which I sense the desire of some to make our media policy do something which it was not intended to do, is misguided. I would remind the Chamber that our own General Manager, in remarks made to the ABC Radio only last week, explained that it was not intended, that a media ban was intended to limit the reportage of any reportage that those media organisations might make. It would appear that there was a stated desire to change our media policy to limit reportage made possible by disfavoured media organisations by claiming that they are not genuine media organisations.
Point of order, Mr.
Point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
I'm nearly done, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
we've got a
it's
point
a pity you're not sticking to. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I believe Councillor Zamprogno is not talking to the subject of this item.
Thank you.
Nearly done, Mr. Mayor.
You've got about 2 seconds, Councillor.
I think I've got longer than
Your
that.
point's taken, Councillor,
Okay.
and you're right.
I think that anybody that's foolish enough to trot out an argument in public that these media organisations are not media organisations are on a hiding to nothing. I think it sounds pretty sus, and I think it sounds pretty sus to
Thank
most
you,
people
Councillor.
listening to this.
We're
Point
not
of order,
talking about
Mr.
media
Mayor. Point of order.
organisations. We're talking about the formulation of a policy or changing it.
Point of order,
Councillor.
Mr. Mayor. Councillor Zamprogno has just made an allegation about me, which at the start of the meeting we read out is not allowed to happen in this chamber. That is directed at me, and everyone in this room will agree that is directed at me.
Yeah.
About not defining a particular media organisation as a media organisation, and he called me sus twice. You've let him before get away with telling me to F off. I think you need to call him to account for his continued behaviour in this chamber that's bringing the chamber into disrepute.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor. We will have a discussion at a later date, Councillor. Yes.
All right, thank you, councillors. I will now be chairing this item of the meeting in the Mayor's absence due to his declaration. Please forgive me for not having any prior notice or being prepared. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's proceed with item notice of motion. I'll just turn the page. 11.1.2. Do I have a mover of that motion?
Yep.
Councillor Creed, seconder. Councillor Zamprogno. Councillor Creed.
Thank you. I've got a number of questions I was going to ask the Mayor and Acting GM, so I'll need to ask the Acting GM if that's okay. With regards to this item and the letter that was sent out, if the allegations related to specific individuals that were alleged, why were the entire organisations banned rather than dealing with those individuals directly?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it wasn't always apparent what individuals were involved with what organisations, and so for the avoidance of doubt and taking a reasonably practical measure and a proportionate measure, noting that there was an opportunity for both of those organisations to lodge a review within 14 days to make the ban on the basis of organisations rather than individuals.
Okay. So I'm under the understanding that there was incidents reported. So were formal incident reports created with regards to the alleged behaviour that was alleged to have occurred?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I almost looked up there. Deputy Mayor, sorry. I'd have to take that on notice.
No, that's fine. I'm happy if you need to take any of these on notice. I'm just asking some of these questions. With regards to this, was Safe Work New South Wales or WorkCover notified of the alleged workplace health and safety risk?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, no, none of the incidents, to my knowledge, breached the threshold for reportable incidents.
So, just to confirm, no formal investigation commenced or is currently underway?
Could you please be more specific? There's been a number of references to investigations.
So,
into this matter.
with regards to the allegations that were made to the two organisations, was there a formal investigation that was commenced, or is there one that's currently underway? I'm not asking for details or anything. I'm just asking if it was a yes or no.
No.
No? Okay. Given that we've now said that it's a work health and safety issue, was a formal risk assessment undertaken before implementing the ban?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, not a formal one, no.
Okay. Sorry, I've got a number of questions and I'm just basing on what I ask on your answers. So, I did have a question for the Mayor, but given that he stepped out, I might have to get you to take this one on notice. Were all councillors informed or consulted before this decision was implemented? Or was it just purely you and the Mayor? Or were some councillors informed or...
I'd have to take that on notice, Councillor.
Thank you. And just with regards to the specific legal advice that you relied on for the ban, was that through internal or external legal advice?
Through internal legal advice.
Thank you. Was the blanket ban, organisational ban, considered proportionate instead of potentially, were any other less severe measures investigated first before we went down this path?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to my knowledge, there were no other options explored, given that a physical presence is really a binary issue. You're either in the building or you're not.
Okay. And just a couple more, and I apologise for so many, and as I said, any you need to take on notice, that's fine. Have similar workplace safety concerns raised by councillors themselves previously resulted in the same level of response or investigation?
Could you be more specific in terms of which previous
So
concerns?
even just in the last 6 months, have any councillors raised any issues, and were they investigated or responded to? About
Through you, Mr Mayor, through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, I'm not aware, and in my substantive position as Director, I wouldn't have been made aware.
No, I understand that, and thank you for that. And just last one, just in regards to safeguards, what safeguards are in place to ensure decisions like this are not influenced by, and again, this may be out of your area because it was meant to be for the Mayor, influenced by personal grievances, political disagreements or perceived vendettas? And I'm happy for that to be taken on notice.
Yeah,
because I think that's probably outside your...
repeat that?
So what
question
safeguards are in place to ensure decisions like this, because we need to be transparent, are not influenced by personal grievances, political disagreements or perceived vendettas?
I'd have to take that one on
That's
notice.
fine. It was more directed to the Mayor, so I appreciate you taking that on notice. So I've moved this motion tonight because I am concerned by the decision to ban the Gazette and the Hawkesbury Radio, not just from the council chambers. According to the letter, it is all Hawkesbury City Council premises. In that aspect, it's not a decision that I support. I was quite surprised when I saw the letters come through, because to me, whether you agree with what they write or what they or how they put it out, and I should actually be quite blunt with this, I'm not here defending the Hawkesbury Gazette or the Hawkesbury Radio. I do not always agree with what they write or what they put out into the public, but at the end of the day, it's not my position to determine what they do when it comes to, stories they put out. My concern is that this letter was sent to the organisations under the Section 19 of the Work Health and Safety Act of 2011 and claims their attendance poses an unacceptable risk to councillors and staff. And to me, that's a really serious claim. And I think if councillors relying on the WH&S legislation to justify the decision, then I believe the community deserves to know what the transparency is regarding the process and evidence that made you to come to that decision. This isn't about, to me, this is not about the media stuff. It's just about how the decision was made and why it was made and the processes we have in place to make sure that it's not getting overtaken by other issues. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this concerns me because it's setting a precedent that this could potentially have a future impact on other organisations that potentially, we decide we're not happy with. The Hawkesbury Environment Network, we don't like what they're putting out on Facebook. We, local sporting clubs, if we turn around and say that, no, you're not getting a certain type of facility or an amount of money or something like that. This is, as I said, I'm not here trying to defend these two particular organisations. My biggest concern is about the transparency around how we come to this decision, the precedent that I think it is setting, and I think it is a dangerous precedent, that future councils could turn around and use this and go, well, they banned them, so we can now ban these organisations we don't like. I understand that some councillors have, potentially may have made some complaints, and I completely understand that. But I have to ask, where do we stop? Do we start banning councillors from chambers because of code of conduct complaints or complaints made against them based on their behaviour? Because I think once we move into that territory of exclusions and bans, and I just think we're walking down a very dark path, and I'm okay with if councillors don't agree with it, and that's fine. It's just my own opinion on this action. I do want to just talk about the fact that I was trying to work out whether I would actually mention this. I have concerns about the fact that some complaints have been actioned extremely quickly and with this severity, yet I have raised concerns about the abuse, the intimidation and the threats that have been made towards me by those in this chamber, and there has been little to no acknowledgement of what I have been going through, yet all of a sudden I get this thing coming through saying we're going to ban these because we've had some complaints from councillors, yet I sent you and the Mayor issues that I was dealing with that completely screwed up my PTSD, and for me personally, in this last month, since that last meeting, I fell into one of the darkest holes I've fallen into because of the stuff that has happened to me in here. I was thankful for people like Councillor Weigel that checked in on me. I have not dealt with this since I was, and I apologise, I know I've gone over, I haven't dealt with this sort of stuff since I went through my court case, and in this last month, because of the abuse I've received in here and the threats and the intimidation, because I'm not voting certain ways, my depression has... I wanted to top myself in the last month because of the way just because I might have a different opinion to people or I vote differently, I don't agree with something, you can't turn around and abuse people and beat them down. I'm sorry. I need a break.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there anyone else wishing to make any comments this evening? Councillor Zamprogno.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Can I just say I stand in complete solidarity with Councillor Creed, and what he said is very brave. Section 10 of the Local Government Act says, who is entitled to attend meetings? Everyone is entitled to attend a meeting of the council and those of its committees. Where it sets exceptions, it is specific. A person may be expelled from the meeting only by a resolution of the chamber, or if the person presiding at the meeting has, by resolution, been authorised to exercise the power of expulsion. That has not happened. The ban only relates to the named person, not an organisation. It only relates to the one meeting in question, and it only relates to somebody who has, and the definition is specific, engaged in disorderly conduct at a meeting. What somebody writes in their newspaper or says on the radio is not disorderly conduct. What third-party commenters put on social media posts is not disorderly conduct. There is no remit in legislation for us to ban an entire organisation or to ban it until further notice. And there is no authority for us to have done so without a debate within this chamber.
Point of order, Madam Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor. What's your point of order?
I have to stop Councillor Zamprogno going on, because what he is saying, I think, is not factual. And I think instead of, going for 5 minutes hearing this, which will go out on the public record and people might be confused, could we just get it cleared up that there is a legislation that allows the General Manager and the Mayor to do exactly what they did? Could we just have this
Thank you.
cleared
I'll
up?
accept your point of order. Thank you very much. Continue, Councillor Zamprogno.
I'd like to reclaim my time because the counter was ticking down throughout that entire interjection. I was watching carefully.
It was not on the screen that I saw, Councillor.
Right. I would like to express my disappointment that if it hadn't been for the motion standing in the name of myself, Councillor Creed and Councillor Jurek, this matter would not even be debated tonight. I'd like to express my disappointment that the Mayor declined my invitation to bring this as a mayoral minute so that our organisation could not be open to the accusation that we were prepared to ban two media organisations without any ratification from this chamber. I say this as somebody who has at times also been disappointed about the quality and accuracy of local journalism. However, I would put the case that if our issue is with the accuracy or fairness of commentary, then the appropriate remedy is to engage these organisations, not ban them. The commentary that's been floating around on Facebook over the last week about the circumstances of the resurrection of the Gazette, as tawdry or as biased as it might be true. In fact, is probably true. And yet, it would still not give us a right to ban these media organisations from being present in the chamber when what they're seeking to do is journalism. It is rare and rather invigorating to be presented with an issue where it's possible to make a principled stand backed by long tradition in our own society, permitting a free press, even when we disagree vehemently about what the press chooses to say. There is a social accord that says that this is the price that we gladly pay to live in an open and pluralistic society. We do not live in Viktor Orban's Hungary. We do not live in Vladimir Putin's Russia. We do not live in Donald Trump's America. No one, and least of all governments, get to suppress journalism by picking winners and losers, by suppressing their ability to report the activities of elected representatives. It occasions much disappointment in the people that I speak to that this principle is not obvious and upheld in this chamber. This is categorically not about the accuracy of stories or an unwillingness to moderate unkind comments that appear online. Those advocating to uphold this ban must demonstrate that it relates to the misconduct of those banned people inside this room. That's the only legislative right that we have. I think that there will be many other irrelevant arguments put forward, and I just want to remind people what this really ought to be about. I would be happier if my colleagues around this table were prepared to just admit that the reason that they are prepared to associate their name with this ban is because They don't like the way that those
Point
two
of order,
organisations
Councillor.
report on their
Councillor, stop
personal and
speaking.
professional conduct.
Councillor, stop speaking, and please respect the rules of this chamber. When you are called to order by someone sitting in this chair, you cease speaking immediately. And what you're going to do is stop talking about your colleagues the way that you do, and every time you turn that light on, you are belittling your colleagues, and it needs to stop.
Can I also raise a point of order? That Councillor Zamprogno said that his colleagues that were happy to have our names associated with this. That is misinformation. None of the people around, no councillor was involved or put their name to this other than the mayor. So what you have just said, Councillor Zamprogno, is untrue. So, that is just untrue. It wasn't. Nobody put their name to it. I didn't put my name to it.
Thank you, Councillor. Continue.
Thank you for running live commentary, Councillor Kotlash. This is my last sentence.
Councillor, I'm going to call you to account again because under the Code of Meeting Practice, a councillor has a right to a point of order and to be heard on that point of order. Stop belittling your colleagues.
My last sentence is this. I think that it is entirely dishonourable for councillors to hide behind confected outrage about commentary that is not being...
Point of order. I'm telling you to stop now. Your time is up. Stop speaking. You are belittling your colleagues again for your own personal grievances. You need to stop this pattern of abuse, councillor. It's not okay anymore. No, you're stopping. No, you're stopping. You're stopping. You're stopping. And I'll call the gallery to account or I can eject you from the chamber. No more, councillor. You've been heard. Any other councillor wishing to have any commentary? There's rules in this chamber. Please cease speaking. Any other commentary, councillors? Councillor Kotlash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Before I start to talk to what I think is one of the most cowardly and out-of-order notices of motion I've ever read, I just wanted to thank a glitch at the ABC for making me the poster girl for this issue. I was a bit surprised to find that Councillor Zamprogno had shared the article from the ABC, frantically shared it to all over the district, to every community group you could think of, and what it did, which I don't think Councillor Zamprogno had intended it to do, is that it made many people, I think we bracket many these days, many people contact me and ask me what was going on. So not only did it give me the opportunity to explain to people one-on-one about what the issue was about, it was good because I got to explain that it wasn't about curtailing press freedom or censorship. It wasn't about that. It was about protecting people from harm. We've got to realise that that is what this is about. So not only did I get to explain that, I got the opportunity to show people how Councillor Zamprogno operates.
Point of order, Madam Deputy Mayor.
What is your point of order?
If it is inappropriate for me to name another councillor in almost any fashion, surely what Councillor Kotlash is doing and is intending to continue with is equally out of order. Are you going to apply the same standard?
First of all, you've made an assumption that you are pulled to account simply for naming councillors. You're incorrect there. Councillor Kotlash, I'll ask you to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is the modus operandi. I had to throw that in. That's what I'm speaking about. 1, first thing, divert attention away from the real issue. Number 2, make emotional statements about this is un-Australian. We're not in Putin's Russia, where they ban media.
Point of order, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Number 3.
Sorry, Councillor. Sorry, what is your point of order?
Councillor Kotlash is now disparaging me by name and imputing comments to me that I have not made. I'm inviting you again to apply the same standard that you did to my remarks.
Councillor, I think stretching that she mentioned your name in that last point since I pulled up the point of order is incorrect. No. The Chair has the call. And I understand that you like to embellish, but what I'm going to do, Councillor Kotlash, is just get you to stick to the motion. Thank you very much.
What can happen is people put on social media and they put explanations about how we've arrived at the situation we're in. And how they do that is that, one, they divert attention away from the real issue. Number two, they make emotional statements that make everybody think that, for God's sake, we're un-Australian. They make statements that infers that it's like Russia's regime which bans media. Then they blame others for it. Sometimes they might say things like a couple of scandal-prone councillors were behind all this. And then they might throw in some dodgy, misleading examples. You know, they might say things like, the Local Government Act requires a decision by council to ban anybody from the chamber or
Point of order,
council
Madam
premises.
Deputy Mayor.
Sorry,
this is
Councillor
not-
Kotlash. Sorry, thank you. What is your point of order?
Councillor Kotlash replacing the words Councillor Zampronio with some people does nothing to alter the very painfully obvious fact that she's referring to me.
How do we know she's referring to you?
Madam Deputy Mayor, you are stretching credulity to its limits.
Councillor, how do we know she's referring to you? I don't know where she's quoting from.
She's continuing with the remarks that she had prepared and simply substituting a single word.
Thank you, Councillor. Your remarks are noted. Councillor, please continue in the vein of the motion before you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Because I was trying to figure out why we were in such a mess of misinformation, I actually studied how this pans out. Now, it's not exclusive to the one that can't be named. This is how this stuff happens. This is how it happens. So please, it's what happens. You know, people claim to know what the legislation is. That is not the case in this particular case. The other thing that happens is that media organisations, it's said that, we're not responsible for what people put on our comments. It doesn't hurt anybody. If we don't say it, it won't hurt anybody. It's not us. That's not accurate either. Then there's no discussion about good journalism or what we should expect good journalism to be. This is how it pans out. So, I'm really desperately, as a councillor and a leader in this community, to try to stop this sort of, it's an outrageous tidal wave of misinformation. And I'm afraid to say that it happens and it's perpetrated by people that should know better. Look, this is just not about press freedom. Let me explain. Sometimes in court proceedings, when somebody has been hurt or is a victim of some sort of crime or whatever, is that sometimes a court will make provision for that person to not have to see the perpetrators. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but there is a reason that they do that. And
Your time is up, Councillor.
Oh, sorry.
Please wind up. Thank you.
Thanks. Look, I think we have to be very mindful of psychosocial risk. We've identified it and we need to do something about it.
Is there any further comments by councillors? Right or reply, Councillor Creed.
honestly, given what I just heard, I don't think there's no point apart from some of the stuff that I've just listened to coming from people. It's just a joke.
Your comments are noted.